Hello, good day. Today here it's overcast. That bright sunshine at this time of year is not present. But nonetheless, there's quite a bit of daylight and the light is strong enough. The message overall is a summary of this week's readings, the 10th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Seems to me to be that God's life-giving energy flows through various people who are made instruments of God. The first example of that is from the book of Kings, Elijah himself. Well, of course, he's a prophet. He certainly is, as a prophet, instrument of God's presence, but in an even more special way here, because he gives life, well, through him. God gives life to the son of this woman, of this widow. God works through those he uses as his instrument, in this case, Elijah. And that is paralleled in the gospel reading with Luke chapter 7, verses 11 to 17, where Jesus resurrects the only son of his mother who was a widow. It says that when the Lord saw her, he was moved with pity for her. As a widow, she had no means of support. And now that her son was gone, she was totally bereft of any support. That was not just physical support, but emotional support that she would have received from her son. He was moved with pity. He was the son of his mother, Mary. And he would have probably thought how my mother is going to feel when I'm crucified on the cross. She without support. Well, there was John to support her. Special person appointed by Jesus. In this case, with the widow of Nain, there was no one. So he gave life back to this son who had died. And the wonderful statement on the part of the people all around who witnessed this miracle was, God has visited his people. What a wonderful thing. Fear seized them all, the powerful presence of God, and they glorified God. They glorified God to see his work. Wonderful it is when we recognize God's work in little things, sometimes big things, but in little things all the time. When we recognize his work, it's an opportunity to give glory to him. The dear Lord was moved with compassion. Now the epistle reading. Paul. Something of a parallel also, but in a different way. Paul was a persecutor. He was the instrument, so to speak, of an attempt to kill God's life in his people. He was trying to destroy Christianity. And in doing so, he thought he was going to give life to Judaism, what he thought was true Judaism, by destroying any followers, stamping out any following of Jesus as the Christ, as the Messiah. Instead, God gave him new life by taking away that death that he was living in, which was his old beliefs, giving the new life of being a follower of Christ, being a follower of Jesus. A resurrection. Not in this case physical, but certainly a resurrection from spiritual death the spiritual life. He in turn becomes an instrument on the part of God, part of Jesus, to bring new life to the Gentiles. And that new life is having Jesus as their Messiah, as their Savior. So that in turn, they're resurrected from their paganism, from their lack of the fullness of God's presence in them, by being given the presence of Jesus as their Messiah, as the one who gives them life as they go through this world. God uses many instruments, and at times uses us. It's so important for us to let God's will be done in us, to bring good tidings of God's presence, of the good news of God's love to everyone we meet. And so we become instruments of bringing new life to others. May the dear Lord be with you and with us all as we do his work.